Good evening, listeners, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fear the Queer,
a podcast that talks about everything on our gay agendas. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Josh.
And on tonight's episode, we will be discussing The Wizard of Oz. Sure, we've been friends with Dorothy for a long time, and we thought it'd be great to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the film by talking about it. But Before we begin, Josh, what are we drinking tonight?
We are drinking the Ruby Slipper, inspired by Judy Garland's feet.
Ooh. Well then.
Right.
It does not smell like feet.
No. It is 1 part bourbon, 2 parts lemonade, and topped off with ruby red squirt.
Ooh, okay.
Cheers, queers.
Ooh, it's
fruity.
It's really good.
Shut up. Okay. But before we get into the heart of our gay agenda, we're going to do another segment of
Catch That Queer, in which we highlight someone in the queer community that advances queer causes in past, present, and future.
Okay, who's queer are we catching today?
So he's an oldie. His name's Magnus Hirschfeld.
Magnus Hirschfeld.
Magnus Hirschfeld.
Okay.
So Magnus Hirschfeld, you heard of her, was born in 1868 in Poland. After a couple years, Magnus eventually moved to Berlin, Germany, and started studying. While there, he began to write about same-sex attraction among men, noting that their mental health was usually worse than their heterosexual counterparts. He is...
I was like, well, depression could have told you that.
Well, right. He was an early sexual rights activist, scientist, and writer. So he began to conclude that because of society's negative connotation on same-sex attraction, gay men were usually higher rates of suicide, which still plagues the community today. Now, some say that Hirschfeld is said to have helped coin the term homosexual to help normalize the same-sex attractions individuals felt.
Oh.
Among his writings, he also...
when was this around?
This is... Well, he was born in 1868, and so early 20th century.
Oh, interesting.
Very ahead of his time. He also started writing about gender identity and even equality amongst the sexes. His teachings became more popular, and he decided to open the institute in Berlin, Germany, called the Institute for Sexual Research.
Wow.
Yes, the institute became a place to learn more about sexuality and gender identity, as well as a safe haven for those within the LGBTQ plus umbrella, notably trans women. So
Really?
Imagine this, in like the
1900s?
1900s, 1920s, very much a safe haven. Now, sadly, the Nazi regime rose to power, and Magnus, who was Jewish, saw that as a threat and decided to tour the world, speaking on his findings in sexuality, while keeping the institute open.
Yeah.
It wasn't long, however, when a Nazi-led student group stormed the institute, harassing and beating the people who called it home and burning it to the ground, along with all the scientific books and findings. Upon hearing about the horror, Hirschfeld, along with his partner Li Shuztong, who was also interested in sexual identity studies, traveled to Nice, France, where Hirschfeld stayed until he died. While in France, Hirschfeld began exploring the concept of race and how it played a part in others' treatment to each other. Hirschfeld addressed white people, condemning racism, saying that it was part of the downfall of society.
He was the first
white
people?
He was aware. And while most of his teachings were based on sexual understandings, his final book was about racism and the evils it presented. He passed away in 1935 with his partner by his side.
That was even before, wow.
And his partner he met in Japan. And they just started talking, and his partner was like, oh, I'm also interested in sexual attraction studies. So they got together. I think Hirschfeld was much older than him, so a little sugar daddy. Some other notable facts about Magnus is during the Columbia expedition in Chicago, he actually was here and was looking at the, gay community in Chicago and noticed it was very similar to the community in Berlin. And he was just like, wow, maybe there's something about that. There's a similarity that is there that is just bringing us all together. So he was very interested in doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's Magnus. Obviously, he doesn't have social media. He doesn't have social media, but you can
where can I follow him?
Well, you can still follow him on Twitter at I'm just he's a really cool person. I think some imagery of him, or I guess not of him, but in the show Transparent, second season, the Institute of Sexual Research is a place in the storyline.
Oh, interesting.
As one of the character's past relatives, like, lives there and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, check it out.
Check it out.
It's very, very interesting. And, yeah, just lots of things we can learn about that.
What's his name? I know you said it a million times.
Magnus Hirschfeld.
Magnus Hirschfeld.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Magnus, for
Yes.
Wow.
He also, very interesting, I forget what the study or the courtroom case was, but they had taken a woman from an African tribe, and they were trying to say that she was, I don't know, a lesbian because her body was different than that of the European counterparts that they were, using her against.
Yeah.
And Magnus was brought in because of his scientific sexual research and was like, no, we're actually all the same. Like, we're all human. And you can't just say that, oh, this person, like, they specifically were like, well, her labia is larger and her ass is bigger. So she is a lesbian. No, seriously. Like, look, it's crazy. And he was like, no, she is still a human, just like the Europeans. So it's interesting and that was before he opened the Institute.
Huh.
So it was,
That's interesting.
it's very interesting that he had such a, intrigue into race, politics, sexuality.
And way before his time.
Way before his time, yeah.
I'm surprised a straight British male hasn't tried to play him in a movie yet.
Oh, well, I'm waiting for it. No, well, maybe Scarlett Johansson's open for the job. Now on to the heart of our gay agenda, the Wizard of Oz. Sure, like I said, we're both friends of Dorothy.
Which is a term we'll get into a little bit here.
But why does it have such lasting power in the gay community? Do you think it's the ruby red slippers? Maybe the witches throwing shade at each other?
Oh my god.
Or maybe it's that the heroine is in a town void of color and finds herself once she goes over the rainbow. Just like us.
That's a little deep.
Well, before we get into why the LGBTQ community's connection to the Wizard of Oz is so prevalent, Josh is going to take us down the yellow brick road and tell us a brief history behind this iconic film.
Did you forget my name?
Yes. It's in my notes.
You're just like, Josh. Okay. So, let's start back at the very beginning, listeners, to the book, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, written by L. Frank Baum. So L. Frank Baum, a tourist born on May 15th, 1856, was actually a Chicagoan in the neighborhood of Humboldt Park, Chicago.
I didn't know that, really?
He was
my God.
around the time when The Wizard of Oz was released.
Local?
Yeah. He had 4 sons, and in 1897, he wrote a successful children's book called Mother Goose in Prose.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the success of that book, he then met up with a guy named W.W. Denslow, who did illustrations for his next book, which was Father Goose, his story.
Mother Goose, Father Goose.
Right, so he's very inclusive with the gooses. Just like whatever his name is.
Magnus Hirschfeld, very inclusive.
Yeah, he was an advocate for geese.
Wow, you really laid an egg with that one.
Right. So then W.W. Denslow actually partnered with L. Frank Baum to then create the illustrations for The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. So if anyone hasn't, like, a first edition of the book, the illustrations are stunning.
Gorgeous.
And honestly, you should read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. You should see where this great movie came from. Because everyone loves the movie, but I think the book is also a very intricate part of the magic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So The Wonderful Wizard of Oz becomes a runaway success. It becomes L. Frank Baum's, like, first major hit. It actually became the #1 selling book for 2 years in a row.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then after the success of it, he went on to write 13 more novels for the series before he passed away in 1919.
So he's like the Twilight author. He's
Yes.
like, I got a hit, we gotta get going.
Another book.
Another book.
So MGM then purchased the rights to the novel in 1938 after they saw how successful Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was for Disney.
Okay.
They realized that fantasy and sort of children-esque pictures were really in and really hot. So the production of The Wizard of Oz itself was insane. There are 3 different writers credited to the screenplay alone, and there's also 3 different directors attached to the project.
What a hot ass mess.
Right? I know. And yet it's still so beautiful.
It is really good.
And here's the funny thing. Take a drink anytime I say the funny thing is.
I'm taking one right now. Ruby Slipper.
Yeah.
Mm.
The film actually lost money when it first came out. Mm-hmm.
Why?
It wasn't successful. Like,
well, it was going up against Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Did that have something to do with it?
Maybe. Critics did love it, but it just didn't make any money because Gone with the Wind was out at the time, and they're just like, oh my god, Scarlett O'Hara. Anyway.
They were exactly like that.
I don't know what 19...
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's Scarlett O'Hara.
Well, bust my buttons. That's Scarlett O'Hara. She's a horse of a different color.
It wasn't until CBS started doing the once-a-year programming of The Wizard of Oz on Thanksgiving, right? Yep. Every year when The Wizard of Oz started to cement its legacy over time.
So people will watch it every
year.
And it's before we had like VHS. For those who don't know, VHS was before DVDs and Blu-rays.
If you don't know what DVDs and Blu-rays are, it's before Netflix.
Yeah, and before Netflix. No.
So anyway, like you would gather around with your family once a year in front of the TV, watch The Wizard of Oz, and be enamored by it. I miss that.
And its beauty. My parents, they told me that they were watching it when they were little kids. And they said it was so exciting because it was color brought to life.
Right.
Like on TV.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like the first major... Well, I mean, Technicolor was used at that point. But
Right.
It's like one of the first story that kind of... like revolves around color, if that makes sense. Like it becomes a plot point in the film.
Definitely.
Now, before we get into this, obviously The Wizard of Oz is beloved by everybody.
Everyone.
Like straights, gays, men, women, children, old people, ducks, geese, like they just...
Again with the goose.
Yeah, it's a classic film. And
Ducks and geese.
its legacy will withstand the test of time.
Yes.
It has already. You know, it's 80 years after... the film, and we're still talking about it.
The spin-offs. So you have Wicked, and you have The Wiz. Yeah.
I guess story. I was like, I guess that's it.
What about that one Disney movie?
Oh, yeah. The one with Mila Kunis. Yeah.
Mila Kunis, yeah.
And James Franco. Yeah, that was awful.
That was not a good moment.
Anyway, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is the queer community's connection to The Wizard of Oz, and specifically, and just... why queer people tend to have such a soft spot for this film, like,
right? Because
in general.
I have always loved this movie, always,
right?
And I think the people who don't like it, I remember talking to friends, and they're like, "Well, the flying monkey scared the shit out of me." Understandable. I always wanted a flying monkey.
Ew.
Complete
I hate
side note.
monkeys.
You don't. Oh. Well, I think they're cute, and I also was like, they would go. They would. They would go and do my bidding, so I was like very into that.
Yeah.
So I think the first opening moment that we see little Dorothy, I don't know if it's like that gay people are like, oh, like that's us, but maybe subconsciously we saw ourselves in that character.
Well, I feel like it fits into the trope of, small town kid wanting a better life for themselves, feeling like they are stuck in this town that, just doesn't have any hope for them.
Wanting to be somewhere over the rainbow.
Right. I was like,
straight up.
And the songwriter for Over the Rainbow, we just watched a documentary. He said the only color that she ever has seen in her entire life is the rainbow. Now, obviously, the rainbow is synonymous to gay people. So he just knew that,
he threw the first brick at Stonewall, is what we're saying.
He was the first brick at Stonewall.
Judy Garland was the first brick at Stonewall.
Judy Garland is Stonewall. I think the tie-in of being like, oh, I just want a better life for myself. Yes. I want to be somewhere free where I can be myself. And
we both felt that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do, but it has such a special connection to queer people in general.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of the gay connotations within the film, like I wrote down some notes, because Josh and I honestly didn't know that Josh liked The Wizard of Oz.
What?
And I didn't until like maybe 2 weeks ago when we watched it together.
Oh my god, it's one of my favorite movies.
Oh my god, but I didn't know that. Because I think of your favorite movies as like Alfred Hitchcock, like Psycho and Alien. So I'm like,
that doesn't mean I don't have a soft spot for Dorothy.
I know, but I'm so happy that you do. So we were watching it, and I was like, you know what? We need to talk about this. There's a lot of gay moments in this. We talk about being like a friend of Dorothy or like a good Judy, which does stem from the term friends of Dorothy is not only because Judy Garland is a gay icon.
Right.
Which we do know that.
Right.
But also the character of Dorothy, as many know, loves the misfits and those who are different in The Wizard of Oz.
Right. So that actually stems back all the way to the books of Oz. And I think one of the lines in the Oz books is, "Oh, you sure have a lot of queer friends, Dorothy." And she, yeah. And she replies, she's just like, "Well, it doesn't matter how queer they are as long as they're friends."
Right. Because queer back then was just used for like weirdos.
Right.
And
which is still synonymous to us today.
Yeah, so, well, yeah. So Friends of Dorothy was just a term that would describe queer people.
Yeah, it was a euphemism used all the way back like around like World War II when homosexuality is still illegal.
And it's like coded within so that straight people didn't really understand what that meant necessarily.
Right, so you just say, "Oh, are you a friend of Dorothy?"
And you're like, "Sis, I am."
Yeah, which has now evolved into "You're good Judy."
You're good Judy because Judy Garland
is also a gay icon.
And had a huge gay following.
Right. I mean, there's just... Well, I mean, Judy Garland is, like, her story of being a struggling star, dealing with depression, dealing with hardships in life. Like, it's, like, one of those, like, classic gay icons. Like, it's just, like, the struggles that she went through, the self-loathing, the wanting a better life for herself, but not being able to really fully grasp it. Like...
And then the downfall. Sadly, the downfall is very similar to other, like, queer... like icons that like gay celebrities uphold.
Right. So, you know, I mean, we see it in like Elizabeth Taylor, like Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse, like people we still hold into like a huge regard. Like Judy Garland was like the OG, like I hate to say it, like star who diminishes. Like, yeah. So yeah, it's now become "You're good Judy," meaning a good friend of yours who's queer.
So when I say that, like, Glenda is a good Judy right from the start, so, you know, Dorothy, she goes to Oz, she opens the door, it's like coming out of the closet, everything goes from black and white sepia tones to color, literally us coming out of the closet.
Plastic leaves.
Yeah, plastic leaves, because I can't keep real plants alive.
Right, gays cannot do that.
No, gays can't. Actually, I think they're, like, plantats are pretty, like...
I cannot keep it alive.
I can't keep anything alive. I'm barely keeping myself alive. But Glenda's all like, she shows up. I love a reveal. Big pink bubble.
Right.
The gays love a reveal. She looks fabulous. Yeah. And she's telling everyone to come out, come out, come out. Come out, wherever you are. And meet the young lady who fell from the star.
Yeah, it's like, meet your new good Judy, guys.
Meet your good... Yeah, she's gonna save y'all. So she's encouraging people to come out. Which,
well, it's kind of true because, like, I feel like when I meet someone who recently comes out of the closet, like, I'm just like, oh my god, let's go out, let's go have fun.
Let's go to Munchkin Land.
Right, exactly.
So
a house will fall on you eventually.
A house will fall on you eventually, and that is called having a bad hangover.
Right. I was like, that house is a security guard kicking you out of the club at 4 a.m.
Right. Asking me nicely to leave. Yeah. So I think there's other things in The Wizard of Oz that I like noticed.
Yeah.
Like when Dorothy finally meets the Scarecrow.
Right.
He's like, well, people they do go both ways when regarding the yellow brick road.
Right.
Which is like really funny. I think like queer people pick up little notations like that. Or like when...
You know, some people do go both ways.
Or like when, well, I was going to just... I mean, maybe this is like a little uncouth, but... So the first misfit that Dorothy finds is going to be the Scarecrow, right? And, you know...
Not the dead witch under her house.
Not the dead witch. She's like, someone clean that up for me. But I'll have her shoes. Right. Really cute. Also, that's totally something that a gay man would do. He'd be like, sorry, the bitch is dead. I love the shoes. Give me the shoes. They give me powers. Fabulous.
Right.
Also, that witch coming in, the Wicked Witch of the West, she got smoke.
One witch.
Oh my god, the one witch. Not Glenda, but the one witch.
Yeah.
No, what I love the dramatics of it all. It's so dramatic. It's like
everyone
borderline
screams.
camp. Oh my god. Just like when I come into a room.
Right.
Also, I have less smoke than she does. But that's just
smells just as bad.
The sulfur on me, dear Lord. So Dorothy meets the Scarecrow.
Yes.
And she's all like, I don't know where I'm at. And he's like, well,
I don't know which way to go.
I don't know which way to go. And he's like, well, you could go that way. Or some others go that way. Mm-hmm. Of course, there are those who go both ways. Mm-hmm. Bisexuals.
Right.
The first...
Bisexual King Scarecrow.
Bisexual King Scarecrow.
Yes. And then she meets the Tin Man.
Who is obsessed with getting lubed up. He can't move until he gets lubed up.
Right.
And all he wants is a heart.
And he wants his chest to be banged on.
He wants a heart on. Well, I would love to get my chest banged on. He's like, bang on my chest. Go on, bang on it. Gung, gung, gung. That is what I want to do every Saturday to a man.
In a seedy basement in a hotel.
In a seedy basement at a hotel called Somewhere Under the Rainbow. Somewhere under, Highway 46. Is there a Highway 46?
I don't know, but that's where I'm going to find your dead body.
Yeah, it's just me, legs under the house, ruby slippers.
He did what he loved doing.
But what I love is in the scene where Dorothy is with the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, she's all like, oh, you both are new friends. And I feel like that is every drunk girl at the club in the bathroom
who meets you for the first time at Sidetrack.
Yeah, and she's just like,
I'm here for my bachelorette party, but you guys are so cute.
And it's like, all I've said is I'm like, yes. And Josh is like, girl, work. And she's like, oh, y'all are the best friends I've ever had. And I'm like, she must be from Kansas.
Right.
So then she meets...
She's just so brown and dingy.
She's just so... brown and dingy? She's not Big Ben.
What? No, I mean, what is it? Sepia tone?
Oh, sepia toned. I was like, brown and dingy. I'm like,
oh my God,
girl, you do not...
So problematic.
Yeah, I'm like, girl, what are you talking... Are you, talking about someone's highlight, their foundation, the contour?
That too.
You're like, blend that contour.
Anyway.
So then they move on, and she finally meets the Cowardly Lion, who we later decide is a dandelion.
Yeah, there really is no lion. I'm just a dandelion. And he, flicks his wrist and...
Same. And ever since I was a little kid, I was obsessed with the lion.
Is it because you're a Leo?
I'm a Leo, but get this. Bert Lahr, who played the Cowardly Lion, he was born August 13th. My birthday...
is August 14th.
August 13th. My birthday is August 13th, so I always felt like a strong connection to him, and I always loved it.
The fact that you guys are the same age?
Yes, and I'm still living, so, some of us take care of ourselves better.
One Leo had to die for the other to rise.
That's how it always has to happen.
The circle of life.
The circle of life. Oh, and if you haven't seen The Lion King...
Wait, it's August 13th.
It is. We're releasing on my birthday.
Happy 50th birthday.
Thank you. It's my golden year.
Aww.
I know.
And to think you're only 30 years younger than the Wizard of Oz.
To think. Which is something that you haven't done often. If you only had a brain.
I was going to say, some people do an awful lot of talking without a brain.
That's us with this podcast.
Right.
So they finally get to the Emerald City.
Right.
Which I also love them trampsing through the flowers.
The what are they, tulips? No.
They're, poppies.
Yes.
Poppies will make them sleep. See, clearly I've seen this quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. The Wicked Witch is a little bit into BDSM.
Oh my God.
She rides in the sky, surrender Dorothy.
Surrender Dorothy, and
right.
She is riding that broom. She is clearly no stranger to
riding hard things.
Riding hard things. She straddles that like a true cowboy.
Right. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw culture was originated with the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right.
The Wicked Witch of the Old Town Road West. I live. So, all is said and done, they finally reveal who's behind the curtain, and it's the wizard.
Oh, yeah. The man behind the curtain.
The man behind the curtain, and I always took that as
another allegation coming out of the closet.
Yes, another, you're coming out of the closet, and he becomes a better person after he comes out.
That's true.
So
he wasn't such a dick.
He wasn't such a dick. He was all angry when he was behind the curtain. The curtain is pulled back by a tiny dog, #pup culture, and he's suddenly this really nice guy who gives them what they all already have. Brains.
Which is validation.
Validation.
Yeah.
And, okay, maybe I'm reaching. Maybe I'm reaching into that big bag.
Probably are.
Maybe I'm reaching into that big bag like the wizard. But, and I'm going to pull out some what I think is truth.
Okay.
Back in the day, brains, heart, and courage were all things that were kind of taken away from effeminate gay men.
Right.
And I think that if we look at those three characters...
I was gonna say, not even gay men, but, like, anyone who's queer.
Yeah, and, like, these marginalized people.
Right.
So if we look at these three kind of misfits who have traveled with their, friend, their good Judy, and they receive brains, a heart, and courage, it's all kind of like... It's validation that they are human also.
Right, and he doesn't even give that to them. He's like,
they've had it all along.
He's like, you've had it all along. He's like, you just had to realize it within yourself.
And it's a wonderful.
So sweet.
Isn't that sweet?
I mean, yeah, that is really reaching, but that's really sweet.
Well, I don't know. I think there might be some truth in that. It's not like I flicked my heels together and said there's no place like home. Which,
you
bitch,
do that 3 in the morning.
I do that 3 in the morning and my lift arrives. Okay, but then let's talk about Glenda.
Okay.
The only drag queen. The drag queen.
Yeah.
She is everything. The highlight, the wig, that lace front. Oh my God.
The fact that she spilled the tea right when she had to.
Oh my God. And she's padded for the gods.
Right.
Like she's padded those hips.
Well, and then
stop relying on that body.
Well, she's just like, well, you had it in you all along. Why didn't you spill that earlier?
Oh my God, that is so shady.
She just wanted the reveal.
I do love, you know what my favorite shady line is?
What?
Is when the Wicked Witch is like, just being like, you're a bitch, Dorothy, give me the shoes. Which, that's not an exact quote line from the movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You're like, that's from Kyle's remake. And Glenda's like, be gone before someone drops a house on you. Shade. Like, how shady fucking is that? I love it, though.
And I like how, like, non-perturbed she is by the Wicked Witch of the West, even though she's clearly,
oh my God.
acted out. She's just like, girl, shut up.
She is paying it no mind.
Yeah.
It is amazing. So those are some of the instances that notes I've taken from the movie and Josh and I have discussed.
Well, and I feel like the winged monkeys, we didn't even talk about them. The Wicked Witch attacking them in the forest. It's kind of like the struggles of coming out.
Yeah.
Along your journey, you find like people along your way who are trying to tear you down or tear you apart.
Right. Oh, tear you apart. And okay, side note.
First I threw my legs and put it over there.
Hey, the Scarecrow loves a good stuffing. He's like, raw dog me, Dorothy.
I was so far into this. They were going to be like, every leaf and everything was gay.
So those trees that threw the fruits, what are gay people called? Fruits. They're throwing it back at us. And
That
what do
munchkin that hanged itself, gay.
Okay, we need to talk about that.
Okay.
The munchkin did not hang itself.
Oh, it shot itself.
Yes. No. No, it was a bird.
You just see a munchkin in the back with like a rifle.
But it's like pink and floweral and just like from Munchkinland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the movie so much. And
I do too.
We did it in high school. We did it as a musical when I was a junior in high school.
We did it as a one-act play.
Who were you?
Oh, I wasn't in it.
Ah, no! I was just like, oh, okay. Who were you?
Well, I didn't try out for it.
If you would have tried out, who would you want to play?
I don't know, actually. I feel like I'd probably be a good scarecrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see you as
he
like
trips himself over
the
time.
wizard.
The wizard?
Yeah, because
behind the curtain.
and he's kind of mean.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. When we did it, I of course wanted to be the lion, and I was like, I remember auditioning, and our director was like, Kyle, you know the lion is not as big of a part as the scarecrow, and I was just like, I'm 40 pounds overweight. I have the same birthday as Bert Lahr. I need to be the lion, and she was like. She was like,
this is history class.
This is history class. Ironically enough, she also taught history.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Small Lutheran school, baby.
Yeah.
So I always felt like such a connection to The Wizard of Oz. I loved it so frickin' much.
I used to watch it like almost every day from the years of like 4 to 7, I would think. And I think Dorothy was the first person I really wanted to like emulate in life.
I thought you were going to be like, Dorothy was the first person I came out to.
I mean, yeah.
You're like, Dorothy, I also
running around acting like I was in like ruby slippers when I was wearing my mom's heels. Like
your mom's like, come back, Dorothy. I mean, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think The Wizard of Oz was the first time I ever wanted to like don myself up into drag and pretend to be Dorothy.
It is like every BB queer's like, I think, gateway into drag or fabulousness because it's so colorful and it's so extravagant. Mm-hmm. And even though it was made in 1939, it has such lasting power. I don't know why. Maybe it's like the that everything is made in reality. It's not like a CGI kind of bullshit nonsense thing.
Right. And it's done so well that, like, you know, you can clearly tell, even though it's special effects, it's still done really well.
Right. And it's such a classic story.
It is.
You know?
Well, and then Somewhere Over the Rainbow, like, just, you know.
It's still one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. I mean, just
I
dreaming.
won't sing it.
Please, for the love of God, do not.
Do sing it? Oh, no.
I was going to say, for, like, wanting to, like, dream about growing up, moving to a place that you belong, you know, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. You're at a place of mind where you're at peace and harmony and everyone else loves you. Like, that speaks for a lot of kids, not even for queer kids, like anyone who may feel marginalized.
Wants to feel like they want to go somewhere bigger or do something more with their lives. I do kind of love that There's No Place Like Home, that even though I feel like I belong in kind of an urban city environment, it is kind of like, it reminds you of like, okay, well, where is home for you? And it's different for everyone.
Right, I was going to say, I don't think it even means that Kansas is like Dorothy's home. It's just home is where you're surrounded by people who love you and support you and want to take care of you.
Home is where the heart is, baby.
Yeah, which is like a really old, like, cliche line, but it is true, especially for queer people, because we have the power to create our families.
Thanks, RuPaul.
I know, right?
Us as gay people, we get to choose our families.
Speaking of RuPaul, okay, I always have to clear something up. I always like how they always, like, RuPaul, at the end of season 11's finale, we talked about 50 years of Stonewall. And he used Judy Garland's funeral as, like, one of the reasons why there was an uprising at Stonewall.
There's speculation.
Which was never
That's
proved.
No.
I was going to say, like, we all love Judy Garland. We all thought she was an icon. And Judy Garland died a few days before the Stonewall riots. But for some reason, over time, it's kind of been rewritten as, like, Judy Garland, like, was the inspiration behind the uprising.
It's weird that they would think that, like, oh, queer people being, you know, shit on for so long, they could have taken one more night of getting shit on. No, they were fucking fed up.
Right, they were just fed up in general. It just so happened that they happened to be around the same time that Judy Garland's funeral happened.
They're about to make them see that rainbow.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm out of my ruby slipper, Josh.
Oh, well, you're cut off anyway.
Make me more.
So, I have a question for you. Do you think The Wizard of Oz... I don't know. Do people still watch it today? Like, kids?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so. I don't have children, but I did.
Thank
Surprise!
God. I was like, thank God.
I would have left them someplace. I think that The Wizard of Oz is one of those movies that the kid becomes a certain age, and they're like, okay, we're going to watch this movie that, you know, mom or dad or whoever has watched and grown up with, and then they watch it. But I think that they wait to, like, a certain age because they don't want it to be too it can be really scary.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole witch and the flying monkeys and the winkies and all that stuff. That is
the giant green head.
It is really, the wizard with the giant green head is super freaky. Yeah. So I feel like they maybe wait a little bit. I don't know. I should ask some people, I don't know, with kids.
Do you know anybody with kids?
My stepsisters.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe, I don't know. If you have children and you're listening to this, do they watch The Wizard of Oz?
I mean, I'm going to have my kids watch The Wizard of Oz when I have kids.
Yeah, I think it's one of those classic, like, hero stories. You know, they go on the adventure. It's no different than Star Wars or Lord of the Rings and
Harry Potter.
They're my
Barbie.
favorite kind of story. Barbie, she gets in her, you know, convertible and she's like, let's fuck shit up. She's like, Ken's like, come on, Barbie, let's go party. Yeah. I sound like Betty Rubble. No, I sound like the Munchkins.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. Do you remember, like, okay, so when did you first watch The Wizard of Oz? Do you remember?
I was actually thinking about that before we started recording. And I cannot remember a time that I had not watched The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
It has always been in my memory. Like, there was not, like, it wasn't like I was, like, 6 years old and mom and dad were like, you need to watch this. I think that they, like, I remember we had the VHS and it was just always playing. Because, like, my parents, they didn't really, like, it, you know, yeah, it might have been scary, but they didn't hold that back from me. I was not a kid who was going to get scared of, like, some flying monkeys. It never
scared me.
It didn't scare me, no. So it was always something that was a part of our household. Like, weirdly in a big way. Like, I remember one time my mom wanted to dress my sister and I up for Halloween. And she was like, I want to make, your sister Dorothy, and I want to make you the Scarecrow. And I was like, I'm not doing it unless I'm the lion. Even as a little kid, I was like, I'm the lion. I am the lion.
Yeah.
And something about maybe his perm and the bow in his hair. And
I were the king of the forest.
Oh, okay, she can sing. Okay, throw autotune on that when you edit this. No, that's like my favorite song.
It's Kesha as Josh. As
Not prince, not duke. Wait, no, is it not queen, not duke, not prince? Da, 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 da. My
Is that a
regal
club mix?
road. No, that's like the.
Dun.
Oh my god, could you imagine a club mix of the Wizard of Oz soundtrack?
Right.
It's like somewhere over the rainbow. Come out, wherever you are. Be the young lady who fell from the star.
Wow, I didn't know you were a DJ.
I am a DJ. I moonlight as a DJ at a Wizard of Oz club. It's amazing. It's called the Yellow Brick Chode.
Well, I'm so happy that our very last podcast that Kyle was able to crack that joke.
I don't want to be canceled. I don't want to be canceled. No, I'm not canceled. It's
Anyway.
You can't be canceled when talking about the Wizard of Oz. It
on
is
your birthday.
on my birthday. It is a lasting story that will continue to inspire everyone and mystify the little queer souls that long to be somewhere over the rainbow for years to come.
Aw.
Yeah, snap. Wow.
Well, I actually want to go out and rewatch it right now.
I would watch it again. When I was in high school and I really wanted to be the Cowardly Lion, I watched it every weekend.
Oh, I'm sure.
You're like, I'm sure because you had no friends.
Right.
No,
I did other things.
I don't know how to respond to that. You did other things like what, Josh? Please tell me, like what?
I watched Friends all weekend.
You're like, I watched a different version of The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Friends.
It had 6 of them.
It had 6 of them, and they were all brainless.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope on the 80th anniversary, this ties into a beautiful little tribute to The Wizard of Oz and its legacy to the queer community. For those of you who are interested, it is not streaming anywhere, I don't think. I think you have to rent it.
You have to watch it once a year at Thanksgiving.
Right, at Thanksgiving. Just like the old people
Just
did.
like the old days.
Ungrateful brats.
Or you can always watch me and Josh reenact it in our 2-person play called Josh and Kyle Over the Rainbow, The Wizard of Oz Part 1.
The remix.
The remix.
Yeah. So if anybody has any fond memories of The Wizard of Oz or has any comments about, their connection to the film as queer people,
Keep it to yourself. No, I'm just...
shut the fuck up. We don't care. Leave it in the comments. Feel free to email us. We're at fearthequeerpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Fear the Queer Podcast. Or like us on Facebook at Fear the Queer Podcast.
And don't forget, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud.
Yes.
Just at Fear the Queer Podcast.
Yes. And as always, I'm Dorothy.
And I'm the Cowardly Lion.
And
we're Fear the Queer. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.